There is a disease that has ravaged Africa for many decades now. It has left in its trail a great destruction, tremendous destruction, beyond description. It is far more deadly than the Ebola, SARS, and now the dreaded coronavirus combined. That disease is human capital deficiency. Human capital deficiency is the primary reason Africa lags the world today. And it has caused us to be greatly uncompetitive. And with your permission, I want to say a word or two about human capital deficiency and corrections that we can make for it. If we take the broadest measure of productivity, that is, if we use, I know that somebody said we should not eat GDP, but if we use GDP per capita as the broadest measure of productivity, we will find that Africa lags behind the world greatly. At $1,600 or at best $1,700, it is far way below the $11,000 average for the world as a whole. And it is far below the $62,000, as you see in Singapore, $65,000 in the United States, $110,000 you see in Liechtenstein. Now, most people for years have looked at human capital only in terms of education and health. But I want to give you my own definition that I'm going to try to plead with the National Assembly to see how we work this definition into practicality. Let us see where the intersection of the National Assembly is in human capital development in Nigeria. I define human capital as the stock of knowledge, habits, wellness, attitude, potential, and other personal attributes, especially creativity, the ability to perform and innovate to produce economic value. The most important thing there is that we have to learn how to create economic value in a very competitive way. When I have done my inquiry into the nature and causes of poverty, as some of you know, I may have been associated with poverty reduction in this country for some time. And so I had the occasion to do my inquiry into the causes of poverty and underdevelopment. And it has become clear to me that the number one culprit, if we're looking for the number one culprit for poverty and underdevelopment, it is human capital deficiency. And we must arrest it today. And so we're happy with the unveiling of the Green Chamber magazine, because I believe that they will use this magazine to cause Nigerians to see how we address the many problems that face this country, principal of which is poverty. If Africa is to catch up, Africa must understand that first and foremost, the most important thing is the investment in human beings. Human beings are our most important asset. We talk about structural capital like infrastructure, physical capital like machines, and sometimes institutions. Even the National Assembly, when you put your budgets together, you talk so much about the roads and the bridges, but we don't talk that much about the human beings. But it is the human beings that will direct the production of these things that we talk about. And so I can only imagine what can happen for us if we begin to pay attention to human capital deficiency and how to boost human capital. I said earlier that it is a disease. It is virulently infectious. It is a terrible disease. And some of the manifestations of it, the economic violence that is caused by human capital deficiency, if we look at them, they include low productivity, poverty, high infant mortality, high maternal mortality, I imagine that there are some charts that will show you how Nigeria performs. I think all the legislators know these numbers already because they've been working on them. And rising insecurity. The primary cause of the rising insecurity we have in the country is human capital deficiency. And I am happy today that we have Mr. President represented here by the very able Minister of Information and Culture. This administration, notwithstanding some of the commentaries you have out there, has actually attempted to do some great things in connection with promoting human capital development. We have many programs, I will highlight them earlier. But let me tell you this. There was one Sidor Lee. Sidor Lee was a retired 18-time computer world champion and genius from South Korea. In 2016, there was a historic match between Sidor Lee and AlphaGo. Now, AlphaGo is an artificial intelligence computer program developed by DeepMind Technologies of Google. In the match between Sidor Lee and the computer, now realize this is a prodigy, a genius, world champion genius, having a match with a computer. In 5 rounds of this match, Sidor Lee won only one time. And Sidor Lee is a world champion, he's a genius. Now think about this. The South Koreans have the highest density of robots per worker in the world. The world is going in the direction of artificial intelligence. And the South Koreans have about 710 robots for every 10,000 workers. They lead the world in this direction, well ahead of the United States and other countries. If we start to look at the future of work, we can become terrified. And I think as legislators, we have to start looking at this, to be concerned, what is going to be the nature of work in the future? How can Nigeria compete with South Korea? Can we compete with the computers that are already defeating geniuses around the world? We need to be mindful of this. Now, fortunately, we have an army of young people in Nigeria that can be engaged in this battle. Many of you know already, I think we all know, that 62% of the population of Nigeria is under age 24. 62% of the Nigerian population is under the age of 24. That is about 124 million people. Now, if it were a country, it would be the 12th largest country in the world in population. That is just the number of Nigerians under age 24. Will be the 12th largest country in the world. It will be ahead, well ahead of Egypt, which is the second largest country in population in Africa, with a mere 100 million people. Now, if you go down a little bit, there is another 83 million people under the age of 15, representing 41% of the population. That only 3 countries will be larger than that age. Your Excellencies, I want to suggest that something has to be done. Let me use this opportunity, because of the sake of time, to say that I believe that the National Assembly should lead every single effort that we have in the execution of products and projects throughout the country. I think that the executive, and I would want to suggest to Mr. President, ably represented here, that the executive, and I wish I had known this when I had the opportunity in serving in a couple of positions on the executive side, that the National Assembly should take the leading role. We should never have any project executed anywhere in the country, in any constituency, without the leadership and coordination of members of the National Assembly. It is the members that were sent to Abuja to represent the people. I know that we are concerned about lawmaking. I know that we are concerned about oversight duties. But I think the most important duty that the people expect of members of the National Assembly is to look after their interests and their well-being. And therefore, I believe that members of the National Assembly, thank you very much, the members of the National Assembly should take the leading role in any project. And I think that the time has come for us to sit down and look for how we make sure that this happens. How are you representing the people if you do not engage in the coordination of the activities of the executive? No ministry, department, or agency should go anywhere in the country to conduct any business without first sitting down and talking to the members of the legislature. And I say this with experience of having been on the other side. If we want to really be successful, it is not we tell you, Senator, or we tell you, members of the National Assembly, that we are going to your constituency. No, we invite you to come to work with us, to lead us and guide us in how we deal with your people. That is the message. And so today, I also want to mention this. There used to be something called, Mr. Speaker, I believe they still have it, something called constituency projects. I think constituency projects are extremely important. And we have to look to make them richer. I'm not talking just increase the quantity. We should enrich constituency projects. And every constituency project should include elements or components of human capital development. We should have no project happen anywhere in the country without being mindful of human capital development. The reason is if we do not, look at those 124 million people I talked about, they are potential free radicals that can radicalize the country and seize the country from under your governance, and you will have nobody to govern. And so we have to be sure that we pay attention to these 124 million people that I talked about. They are potential free radicals. But we don't want them to be free radicals. We want them to be agents of change. We want them to be the people that we can manage. But for us to do that, we have to give them human capital development. Now, finally, I know some people are happy when I say finally. You know, there was a person who was preaching and talking for so long. And after he was sweating and shaking and talking, he said, now what more can I say? And somebody at the back said, how about amen? Okay, so don't worry, we're getting to the amen here. Now, in my organization, we have created a platform known as Phenomenal Africa. And it is mostly for capturing elements of human capital development. Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, I think this is extraordinary, what you have done with this magazine, the launching of this magazine. And I think that it's the magazine that we not only pick up in the National Assembly, but something that we can get even at embassies around the world, something we can get in our communities. And we want to work with you to be able to have inside of it information and things